Welcome to Star Wars for Breakfast. We'll be discussing the Mandalorian Chapter 3. Full spoilers ahead. Welcome to the show. We recorded this entire episode, probably about 25-30 minutes worth, and it didn't record. So we lost everything. So we're doing it again. So yeah, if I don't know, if we seem like we're
frustrated.
Yeah, that's
down the dumps.
But it was a great episode, so I don't mind talking about it again. I see Coop is with us here.
The reference to the sin, I think, was in reference to him breaking the guild's rules.
Yeah.
The fact that, he was asking questions, he was doing what he wasn't supposed to do. He went back and went after, Baby Yoda. The episode itself, I think, was in reference to that being the sin. The very beginning, he got paid in his Beskar or whatever.
Beskar or Steel or, yeah.
And we thought maybe, because you had mentioned you saw in other videos about the Judas.
Sort of Judas, he's betraying Baby Yoda and he's taking his silver.
So we counted and it was only 20 pieces.
Yeah, we did count it. But yeah, and yet again, this episode focuses heavily on Baby Yoda. And, Baby Yoda, has become a major meme, You like Baby Yoda? A lot of people have been wondering why there's not merchandise, and the reason for that is Jon Favreau did not want to spoil the fact that the character was in the show. And I think there were other elements of the show they just didn't want to spoil yet. So the decision was made to hold off on the merchandise. And I believe it's coming out this week. This is Thanksgiving week in the United States, and Black Friday is this week, which is the biggest shopping day of the year. And so I think the plan is to have some merchandise out by Friday. So, check Amazon, check, I guess, Walmart, Hot Topics, whatever. And I respect that level of pride in their story, that they were willing to lose out on a few bucks maybe initially in order to protect the secret. Because if you look at something like what The Rise of Skywalker, their release, they showed us the Sith Troopers. Why? You didn't need to show us that. You could have kept that a secret. They wanted to sell those red stormtroopers, and they look cool, but you could have kept that a secret. You could have made that something that was a surprise.
I think it's the opposite, though. I think the toys will sell better because they won't release until after the show started. Because, like we had spoke about it before the battery side, that a lot of the toys that came out with the Force Awakens,
nobody bought them.
They weren't in the Force Awakens.
Those sold decent, yeah, some of those.
The ones that weren't in there, because there was a couple bounty hunters that were, part of Kylo's crew.
Yeah.
Were never in the episode except for like a half a second where they showed like a flashback.
just like trying to fall asleep while standing. But yeah, the toys had when you get to like Solo and The Last Jedi, the toys didn't sell. The last couple of years have been like the lowest merch sales for Star Wars in a very long time. And I personally haven't been buying Star Wars stuff, not even consciously thinking about it. It's just I haven't been interested in any of the merchandise.
To me, I haven't connected with any of the characters.
Yeah.
You had Poe and Finn, whereas basically, Luke and Han, or even Chewie. In 4, 5, and 6, they had that banter back and forth. They had a good dialogue. It was funny. and then they separate them.
Right.
So in
Spoiler
episode
alert.
8, they focus more on, Rey and Kylo, which that's fine. But separating the other two vital characters disconnected me from those characters.
Yeah.
So I stopped caring about those characters, which to me was, in the originals, their strongest point, but also the reason, in my opinion, the toys haven't sold as well because no one cares about any of the characters they're creating.
Yeah.
So all these sub characters, all these extra characters that they're making toys of, no one cares about them. I mean, kids still care about the key characters. Still care about Kylo and
Yeah.
Rey and
I like that.
Luke, and so some of the main characters, there's still a focus on them, but everybody else, all the sub characters, nobody cares about. Which is sad because in the originals, Boba, a Mandalorian, was a kind of side character, but he looked so cool. It was kind of menacing. His little bits on screen were
Very
memorable.
well, yeah.
As opposed to, we talked about like Phasma. Her little bit on screen felt wasted.
Right.
Like it wasn't a big
It's
deal.
completely
So-
wasted. This is a character that I was extremely excited for. I bought some figures and different items, and then I was completely disappointed with how they used her in Force Awakens, and then I absolutely hated her reappearance in The Last Jedi. And it was a waste, and I really don't know what they were thinking. There was so much more they could have done with her. I would have actually made her a central antagonist, actually. Not the antagonist, but a bigger role. She would have had more screen time. I don't know. I really think they dropped the ball on that character.
Well, I think either way more screen time or almost none.
Yeah.
You make it like
Or
Boba,
make it
where it
more.
was very,
Yeah.
the couple points where they were in there was very memorable, as opposed to a bunch of moments that didn't matter.
But, talking about merchandise, Baby Yoda merchandise, I believe, will be out this week based on the rumors. So,
It's going to be the new Tickle Me Elmo. or whatever.
possibly, yeah, I'm curious to what exactly they'll be putting out. So, in the Mandalorian episode, Chapter 3, as they're calling them, The Sin, we have Baby Yoda being turned into these Imperials. And when he gets his Beskar steel, he goes back to his base, and we have a really cool sequence with the Mandalorians. We have a little scuffle between the main protagonist, the Mandalorian, and one of his brothers.
I just called them Mando 5s.
Mando,
So I
yeah.
think that was the one from Clone Wars that had the minigun.
Yeah. One thing I really enjoyed about it was the fact that when they started fighting, nobody jumped in. Everybody just let them, as part of this tribe, part of this crew, when there's a beef, you let them handle it. And it wasn't until it was escalating to where somebody might get
They both had knives at
killed
each other's throats.
that who I'm assuming is their leader. They've still not really told us their structure, but I'm assuming the blacksmith is the leader, and she basically stood up and was like, "Hey, chill out." But she really didn't even say that. They just sort of
She just started talking, and everybody stopped
they
and
just
listened.
stopped and listened. So I like we're learning more and more about how they operate, how the Mandalorians operate, and then we're treated to yet again another really cool sequence of armor being forged and flashbacks, and we actually got to see more clearly the droids, which I pointed. They looked way more menacing in this. They were killing. They were they looked scary. Why could we have not had that in the prequels? I'm just saying.
Well, because in the prequels, there was no. I didn't feel like there was any threat of anything.
Yeah, no, they were goofy,
Yeah.
and that was a poor setup with the Phantom Menace, because you have the entire Gungan battle. And it's all played for jokes. So, and then you want me to be afraid of the droids for the next two films, and it doesn't. I don't know.
I'd be afraid of them after.
They were scary in this
Yeah.
sequence. They're they're walking through, they're gunning people down, they're screaming, they're running. It was it's well done. So the Mandalorian now has his armor. He looks really cool.
I was talking about the Beskar steel, how expensive it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, this was the biggest bounty. She melted down 18 of the 20 bars.
Yeah.
Chubbs from Happy Gilmore had 2 bars, and he was talking about how rich he was. So I wonder what the Bhaskar Steel to credits like ratio is. But for him to have basically recreated his entire armor out of that set,
he's walking around
in like diamond plated.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Putting a target on his head, essentially. Putting himself in danger because he's wearing extremely valuable metals on him.
Well, they even said that. They're just like, "Are you sure? Because you're going to stand out." And now he does.
She has a cool line. I don't know if it was referring to that. I can't remember when she said it. The Mandalorian, I guess we'll call her leader from now on until they tell us otherwise. She says, "We are the hunters and the prey."
Yeah.
You know, they're a lot. You know what it is to be. You know.
I think on IMDb they call her the Forger.
Is that what? Makes sense.
I think I was
a forger.
I don't know if that's what her. I don't know.
I sort of oddly like that they're not just telling us everything. They're, you know, piece by piece we're learning stuff. So he decides, you know, he's like, you know what? I got my armor. I got my new bounty pup, but damn it, I care about Baby Yoda. You know, the Mandalorian went through trauma as a child. He sees the same thing happening to another kid. He's like, no, I'm not going to tolerate it. So he goes and he retrieves the baby and brutally massacres like at least 20 stormtroopers in the process. Burns one alive, which was cool. Used his new little bird. What was it? I should have wrote the name down. I think we said it in the last video, the last time we recorded. I don't remember something. I don't remember. But he
Whistling Birds,
something like
that.
I
think it was that.
I hope it's nothing like that.
I think it is.
I think it is. But he uses it and, you know, kills a bunch of stormtroopers. Really cool sequence. I like that it's in these dark hallways. I like, you know, them using their flashlights.
It gave a very, well, I say John Wick because there's several John Wicky type scenes, but even that is a very SWAT style thing, and for the stormtroopers to be a military.
Did you play Republic Commando? Back in that amazing game. I don't know if there's any way
you can play it now.
Can you play it?
I got it off of the Xbox Live in the store. It was free.
Check that out if you've not played it. That's an amazing game. It's squad based. It's solo game, single player game. It's like a first person shooter, but not, because you control a squad, and basically you're directing them as to how you're attacking whatever area you're in and what you're trying to accomplish. Really cool game. What was I saying before that? But yeah, he's hunting these stormtroopers as they're doing that. So he finally gets out, and the bounty, this is the complete John Wick scene. All their little trackers start going off as they're in the bar.
Their space pagers.
Yeah. They all start to get up. He's walking through the street. You know, he's got his hand near his gun, and these guys, they're all around him. It's straight from John Wick, which is cool. I have no issues with that. He's confronted, and then the coolest 5 or 6 minutes of possibly the series thus far, I would say, takes place. We have this huge shootout with the bounty hunters.
The paw, like his quick draw with Yoda in his hand, and then
we kept playing that scene when he draws, shoots, and then does a
barrel
spin,
roll type thing into and then lands on his back so as to not land on Baby Yoda.
Protect Baby Yoda. Really cool sequence. He starts vaporizing everyone, which is cool. And I like the back and forth between him and the guild leader, basically. Yeah. He's like, this is what's going to happen. We're blah, blah, blah. And he's like, this is what's going to, they kept going back and forth, which I thought was interesting.
He tells them it's all in the hips.
Yes. So, if you get that reference, put it in the comments. But yeah, it starts to escalate, it's, looks bad for the Mandalorian. Is he going to make it through? He's run out of fuel for his flame weapon. Things get bad, and all of a sudden, bam! The Mandalorians roll in to protect their brother, and just a really cool fan servicey moment. But it was amazing. It was great.
Well, we talked about it too. A very brotherhood type vibe. So even whether you're saying it's, because you had mentioned earlier the Klingon type.
In the last, I didn't bring it up in this video, but in the first video, or have I in this video? I don't remember. It's all running together now. But in the last video, I believe, I brought up the Klingons. I'm a big Star Trek fan. And the Mandalorians, there's similarities in how they seem to operate as far as warrior cultures. And the fact that, that we're in this together. If one of you is in trouble, all of us are in trouble. If one of us is going to die, we all are willing to die.
Because, the Mandalorian asks, he's like, are you sure you guys are going to have to move? We're going to have to basically uproot this base. And he was just like,
what is there saying? I was like, this is the way. Or
yes,
something.
that's what
this is the way. This is the way. So yeah, and they didn't even seem upset about it. It was like, no, this is what has to be. And
to me, it shows how good the Mandalorians are just as a mercenary crew. There's a whole guild full of people, and there was a ton of people that he took out even prior to them showing up. And then they just massacred them. Like the Mandalorians, they didn't show any of them getting hit, any of them getting hurt, and all these other people were like trained bounty hunters, and they weren't even remotely close. Like they didn't do anything. So the Mandalorians, it shows me how far superior maybe their weaponry, their armor, their everything, training is to everyone else.
So this sequence ends with the guild leader sneaking on the Mandalorian ship. He gets through, he gets on a ship. Could have shot him in the back, but he doesn't. And when the Mandalorian turns around, he basically says, look, you broke the code. That's the only reason this is going down. Give me the baby, and let's end this. And the Mandalorian shoots him. First he causes a distraction, then he shoots him. I think he purposefully did not kill him, because he shoots him exactly where the Beskar steel was. He knew it was there. He showed it to him earlier.
And
he would have no reason to really kill him, because he was wrong in that he violated their code.
And the heat signature thing that's either on his scope or in his helmet that he showed when he was listening in on the conversation between the Imperial and the Camino, he may have seen where the Beskar steel was. Like it may have left like a dark spot on the heat signature or whatever. Would have made it easy for him to find it. So I think for him to hit dead center of it, not like clip the corner of it, but for him to hit dead center of the two plates, I think is indicative of he wasn't trying to take him out.
And I think we'll see him again later in the series, probably, or maybe next season. I think there was already talk of doing another season, had been mentioned somewhere. So where do you think it goes from here? We're not even halfway through the series, and yet this felt like a pivotal episode.
I think that we're going to find out what the Imperial guy's role is, because you still don't know where he is, what's going on.
Yeah.
He mentioned that he wanted to kill it, but he let the guy from Camino do whatever it was he was doing to it first. Then he was going to kill it. So we're going to find out what Yoda's importance is and why the Imperial guy wants to kill it, whether he's acting alone or if he's acting on behalf of the Empire.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest theories right now are either A, they want to clone it, or they want to somehow extract the midichlorians so that they could essentially create force babies or some. Yeah, I want to say the EU had something where they were creating force users and using some method. I don't know. Who knows? But clearly there's something, and it involves people who understand biology, Kaminoans.
Yeah, if they're cloning people, I'm pretty sure they got pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to the merch. As I said, this should be coming out soon. And anything else before we close out?
Only about 4 more weeks of this show. You have Star Wars coming up, and
Very excited.
it's a lot of good stuff. I'm pretty excited about it. Something else I did notice, watched Home Alone, the first one last night, and I didn't know that Buzz had an Ice-T poster in his room until like the 400th time I've seen it.
Yeah, the Ice-T poster.
Yeah, it was the first time I saw it. Watched it last night, and that came to my head.
He has a lot of cool stuff in his room if you pay attention. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So on that note, do yourself a favor and check out lrmonline.com. It's a really cool site for entertainment news. You can hear me on their LR Mornings podcast, November 25th, Monday, November 25th. Yeah, great site. They have something called the Last Call podcast. I believe it's monthly. Last week it dropped, and it is 2 men, Cam versus Jammer. These guys have radically different opinions on The Last Jedi, and you get to hear them argue about it for like 3.5, 4 hours. They cut it into 2 parts. It's really good. Check it out. Also, Pulp Mythos, this channel's name. Give it a subscribe. Trying to get to 100. We've been sitting at 80 something for a while now. I'm shocked that we're still at that number. We have not been consistent.
No one's cleaned out their YouTube.
Well, they've done some purges recently, and I keep waiting for it to drop down to like 5, but no, it's still in the 80s. I'm trying to break 100 just so I can say we'll have over 100 subs.
We're also going to do a Law Dog film
We might actually do something like that.
about a dog. It's a sheriff. And law don't go around here, law dog.
So yeah, subscribe, click the bell, do whatever you got to do. We'll be posting weekly.
Looking for someone to play Ike Clanton in our film.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.